John Locke was an English philosopher and physician widely regarded as one of the most influential of Enlightenment thinkers and commonly known as the father of liberalism. Considered one of the first of the British empiricists following the tradition of Sir Francis Bacon, Locke is equally important to social contract theory. His work greatly affected the development of epistemology and political philosophy. His writings influenced Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and many Scottish Enlightenment thinkers, as well as the American Revolutionaries. His contributions to classical republicanism and liberal theory are reflected in the United States Declaration of Independence. Internationally, Locke's political legal principles continue to have a profound influence on the theory and practice of limited representative government and of the protection of basic rights and freedoms under the rule of law. Locke's theory of mind is often cited as the origin of modern conceptions of identity and the self. Figuring prominently in the work of later philosophers such as Jean-Jacques Rousseau, David Hume, and Immanuel Kant. Locke was the first to define the self through a continuity of consciousness. He postulated that at birth the mind was a blank slate, or tabula rasa, contrary to Cartesian philosophy based on pre-existing concepts. He maintained that we are born without innate ideas and that knowledge is instead determined only by experience derived from sense perception, a concept now known as empiricism. Demonstrating the ideology of science in his observations, whereby something must be capable of being tested repeatedly and that nothing is exempt from being disproved, Locke stated that whatever I write, as soon as I discover it not to be true, my hand shall be the forwardest to throw it into the fire. Such is one example of Locke's belief in empiricism. Thomas Jefferson wrote, Bacon, Locke, and Newton, I consider them as the three greatest men that have ever lived, without any exception, and as having laid the foundation of those superstructures which have been raised in the physical and moral sciences. Locke's influence may have been even more profound in the realm of epistemology. Locke redefined subjectivity or self, leading intellectual historians such as Charles Taylor and Gerald Siegel to argue that that Locke's an essay concerning human understanding, 1689, marks the beginning of the modern Western conception of the self. Locke's theory of association heavily influenced the subject matter of modern psychology. At the same time, Locke's recognition of two types of ideas, simple and complex, and more importantly, their interaction through associationism, inspired other philosophers such as David Hume and George Berkeley to revise and expand this theory and apply it to explain how humans gain knowledge in the physical world. Locke, writing his letters concerning toleration 1689-1692 in the aftermath of the European wars of religion, formulated a classic reasoning for religious tolerance in which three arguments are central. One, earthly judges, the state in particular, and human beings generally cannot dependently evaluate the truth claims of competing religious standpoints. Two, even if they could, enforcing a single true religion would not have the desired effect because belief cannot be compelled by violence. Three, coercing religious uniformity would lead to more social disorder than allowing diversity. With regard to his position on religious tolerance, Locke was influenced by Baptist theologians like John Smith and Thomas Hughes, who had published tracts demanding freedom of conscience in the early 17th century. Locke's political theory was founded upon the social contract. Unlike Thomas Hobbes, Locke believed that human nature is characterized by reason and tolerance. Like Hobbes, Locke believed that human nature allowed people to be selfish. This is apparent with the introduction of currency. In a natural state, all people were equal and independent, and everyone had a natural right to defend his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Most scholars trace the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the American Declaration of Independence to Locke's theory of rights.